Quest to Succeed, Chapter 18. The Indian Army was not the only attraction for Jay's villagers. People were interested in education. In the later part of the 20th century, they sent their children to study in cities for the high school examination, intermediate level, and some completed their degree. There was an elderly teacher who retired as primary school headmaster, and another was still employed as a head teacher. They were both of his dad's generation. Many of Jay's generation became teachers. They taught in primary schools and secondary schools. They, however, had to complete teachers' training before being appointed as teachers. To teach at a primary school, they did their Junior School Teaching Certificate, JTC, and for high school teaching, they had to do Bachelor of Teaching, BT, or Bachelor of Education, B.Ed degree. None of them taught in their own village. They used to teach in other villages and in the nearby towns. At one stage, Jay's brother Nakul was offered a teaching job as soon as he passed his intermediate examination. But he did not want to become a teacher. There were quite a few friends of Jay's who were teachers. One of his cousins taught only for a year. After that, he joined the Indian Railways. Another cousin, however, remained a teacher all his active life. His eldest cousin's son also remained a teacher all his life. He moved to live in the city where he graduated. They all found teaching very rewarding because they provided education in a developing country and lifted people from ignorance. There were young men who preferred to work in the Indian Railways. It was a satisfying profession for them. They did all kinds of jobs, including engine driver, ticket collector, station master, accountants, and administrators. They had to pass an entry examination to join the Indian Railways. The Indian railway system started in the 19th century to move raw material and manufactured goods to ports for exports. Railways took goods to other cities in the country in order to sell to shopkeepers and to consumers. The railways also led to industrialization in India. Machinery had been introduced in the country which possessed iron ore to make iron and steel. Industrial development in India started in the late 19th century, but it was slow because of imperialist administration. The railways, however, transported manufactured goods from factories and brought raw materials for use in those places. One thing Jay noticed in the nearby district of Delhi, a small railway's gauge track was laid near the villages and farms to transport sugar cane to mills to manufacture sugar. The speed of the railway train was so slow that people could get on and get off easily, and it would continue to travel. Apart from carrying raw materials and goods, the trains were also used for traveling, but Jay never sat on these trains. He enjoyed watching them move slowly. After 1950, emphasis was laid on comfort for passengers. Modernization continued throughout the 20th century, from the use of coal to electrification. In recent years, large cities have developed their own metro system for local people. The first metro was built in Kolkata, Calcutta, in 1984. Delhi built its metro in 2002, Mumbai, Bombay in 2014, and Chennai, Madras in 2015. The process was continuing in Lucknow, Bengaluru, and other cities for furtherance for the residents in big cities. Despite all these conveniences, one of Jay's villagers never traveled by train. He hardly ever went far from the village. If he went to town, he traveled in his bullock cart or walked on foot. One of Jay's cousins joined the civil service and became an administrator in the Ministry of Finance. He spent all his working life there and retired at the age of 60 years, but he never went back to live permanently in the village, though he used to visit his relatives and friends in the village. Another person held an administrative job in the Central Ministry Urban Development. He spent all his working life in the department and retired as a higher grade administrator and received a pension. His wife asserted that her husband's pension increased every 6 months. She was exaggerating the claim to show their vanity that they were above others in the vicinity. Their standard of living did not reflect anything special. They had lived in the same house since they moved to live as young people. Some people did not tell the whole truth. This family was one of those boasting few. There were 2 men from his village in the police force. One of them was the son of the retired headmaster, and another was a friend of Nakul's. Jay took interest in both, and whenever they were in the village, he used to talk to them in some detail about their job and professional satisfaction. They both joined the rank of police sub-inspector because they had acquired the educational qualifications and passed the provincial police service examination. The modern police system in India started in the 1780s. Before that, the village zamindar landlord was responsible for the security of the village. The Nawabs and Maharajas were the judges of higher courts. One of the sub-inspectors from his village was later promoted to the rank of inspector of police. The inspector oversaw a police station in urban areas. In rural areas in India, an inspector of police managed a circle which comprised 2 or more police stations. He was also known as the circle inspector of police. Constables, head constable, an assistant sub-inspector, and a sub-inspector worked under his supervision. A sub-inspector could run a police station and assisted the police inspector. They dealt with both the civil and criminal complaints. After investigation, they were required to refer the matter to the courts and to provide protection to witnesses. There had, however, been complaints by the public that the police did not register complaints of the poor people. It could be true, but there were social welfare organizations to assist such people. A complaint could be lodged to higher authorities against the lower grade officers, or the matter could be referred to courts. The court or the higher police officer could conduct an inquiry. The police officers could be suspended or discharged from the service. The police superintendent himself could visit a police station, especially when a complaint had been lodged against it. The redresses were available. The law enforcement in India was the state matter. The Central Ministry of Home Affairs was responsible for internal and external security of the nation. There were 2 types of services, the Indian Police Service, IPS, and the State Police Service, SPS. The police sub-inspector came under the State Police Service. He was normally in charge of a police station. He could file a charge sheet in court and was usually the first investigating officer. The officers under him could not file a charge sheet in court. They investigate the case and submit a report to him. They also work as station house officers, SHOs. Most sub-inspectors were directly recruited into the police service. They had better qualifications than the lower rank officers. The SSC, Staff Selection Commission, was responsible for recruiting eligible candidates at national level. In exceptional circumstances and with experience, some assistant sub-inspectors and constables could be promoted to the post of inspectors. There had been examples of such promotions, but Jay's villagers entered as a sub-inspector through examination. One of them became an inspector because of his hard work, experience, and efficiency. Jay's villagers served in many police stations and in many states. They spent time in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Maharashtra. Before retiring, one of them was posted in Uttar Pradesh, where he was immensely popular and was respected for his fairness. He used to talk to Jay whenever they both were in the village at the same time. He suggested to Jay that he should study for a master's degree after graduation and also take a law degree. He should practice as a lawyer in a court and later become a politician. Jay, nevertheless, decided to become a teacher instead. India was an agricultural nation, but due to pressure of population on land and lack of opportunities in villages, people started to move out of the villages to cities in search of employment. This mobility introduced social and economic challenges among the village people, including Jay's villagers. A substantial number of residents moved to cities and started new types of jobs. From Jay's village, a family moved to live in Mumbai to work in textile factories. Delhi also had textile industry. Many people from his village worked there. They were in cotton textiles. They used to make several types of cloth from a variety of cotton. Some of the Indian cotton was not of high quality. The Indian textile industrialists imported high-quality cotton from Egypt. Indian cotton cloth had been famous in the world from the ancient times. Modern cotton mills in India started in 1830, when the first mill was built in Surat, Gujarat. Mills had, however, existed in the Middle Ages and in ancient times. In the Mauryan times, 300 BC, 500 workers were employed in a factory. Muslin was used to make clothes for the gentry. A muslin cloth was displayed at the Great London Exhibition in 1857, which weighed 3 ounces and 2 pennyweight. It was 10 yards in length and 1 yard in width. It could pass through a small ring.